talk about flat Earth together for the Brujas CLA. This is our podcast while we're driving. We already wasted 3 hours of not capturing the content.
3 hours.
We've gone through. Should we just kind of ramble the overview of what
we
we've
talked
gone
a
through?
lot about sex because that's my favorite topic. I get really fired up about it.
Yep.
You want to see me get fired up? That's the ticket.
We talked about anal sex a lot, actually.
Anal fissures and anal
Julene has some
hemorrhoids
theories about anal.
and energy exchange and spirit and the aligning of the rubbing the hearts together because you're. I'll start going off again.
The heart meridians and the penis
heart
and
meridians and the tip
cervix.
of the penis and on the cervix, and when you have unprotected sex, you're literally rubbing your hearts together because that's where your heart chakras align in the meridian of your cervix. So you rub those together and you're literally having a union of spirit when you're having sex. But when you have anal sex, I don't believe that actually exists because there is a barrier between the vagina and, the anus, and you have the cervix is on the other side of that. So it's like essentially like wearing a condom or a couple of condoms. Even if it's unprotected anal sex.
There's no spirit in anal sex. I'm kidding. I mean, we were musing on, one of the other things, Julene was talking about her TED Talk where, like, rapists deserve some compassion too if it's been eating them up all their lives since the event or whatever. And that's something I struggled with, but Julene introduced to me through the TED Talk you watched.
And anatomy, I talked a little bit about anatomy and what women don't know. Like, I did not learn where my pee hole was from because a lot of it, like, I've seen a lot of vaginas. I was a stripper, but some of the pee holes, like, you can barely even see them. It just looks fleshy. And mine was like that before I had kids, and you couldn't see it there. And so I just kind of looked down. I kind of thought, like, the clit, it looks like a hole. I just kind of thought the pee just kind of came out of there. I couldn't really tell. Like, I didn't look at it well enough or something. I didn't realize there was a whole other hole.
There's a whole other hole. And I have a friend who also grew up I don't know if you attribute this to growing up in a cult, but my friend grew up like fundamentalist Christian.
Christian, yeah.
Who thought she had to take her tampon out when she peed. She thought the pee came out of the vagina, So anyway, I've heard that.
So I found this out when I was 22, where I peed from, and I was like blown away. I was like, holy shit, it's not actually coming out of the clit. And this is like after, so like when I found my urethra hole in the mirror, I'm sitting there doing my makeup, and I'm sitting on the counter, my friend's counter, and we're getting ready to like go to lunch or something at the club. And I was like, oh my God, she like came in the other bathroom, and I'm like, look at this. And I'm like, this looks like a little tiny like clit. Well, she didn't obviously know either because she's like, whoa, that's really weird. She had no idea. So she didn't know, okay? Then I was telling somebody after I had my first kid, she'd had her first kid. We were out at this house, and I was telling her, I didn't learn where I peed from until I was 22. We were like 23 or 24 at the time. I was, and I'm telling her this, and I'm like explaining it. I think I was like drawing it. And she was like blown away. She was like, what? There's another hole? Oh my God. And she'd had a kid too. I also know a woman that has 8 kids and has never had an orgasm.
Oh,
but
my God.
So I've met a couple people in my adult life that didn't also know where they peed from.
It's a conspiracy keeping us.
And well, I mean, I just think, we don't talk about it openly enough, and we should talk about these things openly enough.
Yeah.
That it's not like a mystery.
Yeah.
But then there's like the whole, and then we went into the
adrenochrome possibility of.
No, we didn't even finish the whole anal sex thing.
Yeah. Okay, then
so
but we did a lot of
anatomy. Like, here's the other thing: if you haven't done this, you should do this. If you've never stuck one finger in your butthole and one finger in your vagina to like feel how thin that layer is, you should. Just because we should do shit like that.
This is not an Illuminati sign. It is
feel the
sexual sign. Okay, we talked a lot about flat Earth since we're driving through
We were supposed to do a flat
the
earth
Chama
topic,
Valley. We love the Chama Valley
Really?
in Colorado, New Mexico. Is it New Mexico or Colorado?
In Chama?
It's New Mexico.
Yeah.
We love the Chama Valley. And we're driving through where we are now, right? Almost to Santa Fe? Or no, almost
We're on
to-
the outskirts of Santa Fe. We're on the
Yeah.
truck route passing Santa Fe.
But anyway, so I went through some of my theories about plasma event. We read about plasma event from this website called Libra Rising. Okay, and so I love what Julie was saying the other day about Yahweh. And this website reading validated that, and about basically like the under realm, under earth is ruled by a different God in what testament? You know, I love that whole theory.
Okay, so the Old Testament, the first God that came out was Yahweh. That was
Old
the first
Testament,
one.
okay.
And then it says,
And that's
"You will have no other gods before me." Well, he says that because there's multiple gods, and even Baal they say was Satan, but it wasn't. They were worshiping Baal, and there was a couple other gods. And then something switches in the Old Testament, and they switch from Yahweh to, or maybe it's the other way around. Elohim to Yahweh. Now I'm getting confused, but like they switch gods, and then they switch to Elohim, which is the god of war. And that's the one that's like killing all the Egyptian babies and all the wars are starting. That's the same God that came up with the 10 Commandments. It's the same God, but that's a different God than the first God in the Bible. And they even switch the name. But if you look it up, you could just Google it. It's like, am I getting that right? Yahweh is or Elohim is the God of war?
As Libra was talking about, is the Yahweh lives in the underworld, which took all the Hebrews out of Egypt and lived into the underworld. So I don't know how that's relating to whether that's the good God or the bad God. That's the idea that there's basically two,
Do I need to Google
basically
this?
Satan.
So anyhow,
in the
that
Bible as
second
one of
God,
the other gods.
the second God in the Old Testament, the second God is actually a war god, and you can just Google it.
Also known as Satan,
I don't-
basically,
I
right? Is that the same?
Well, I mean, it's kind of like it's I mean, fucking killing babies, like
Yeah.
it's pretty
And the Ten
intense.
Commandments and the idea of like the
Like,
constant
you're gonna
sinning.
bow
So
to
anyway.
me. You're gonna like if you sin, you're gonna go.
But I was,
Hell is not mentioned until the New Testament
Mm.
with Jesus. Hell is just, they talk about it being the underworld or like the grave.
okay.
You just go and you're dead.
That sucks that we are still buried in graves. We probably don't need to be buried in graves. There are no graves that are older than, I don't know how old, 200 years old. So that, anyway, so my greatest passion is the whole Tertarian blood flood global reset, which we were reading a little bit about Yahweh on the Libra Rising site because I was trying to explain to Julene what a plasma event is or what plasma is. I don't even recall. Do you remember what I was even saying, what plasma is?
Yeah, and you did mention like the God or whatever, but if you look, can you see that? If you Google Yahweh, Yahweh is a war god. Yahweh
That's
is
a coin. Yeah.
Yahweh is the God, and it's on Yahweh, Wikipedia Yahweh, YAHWEH. But the first God in the Old Testament was Elohim, which I think has to, something about still water or whatever.
So water versus fire,
God
basically,
of
like hell.
creation.
So we were talking, so the plasma event, I was trying to explain like global mud flood. So the plasma event, so in Julene recognizing there's lots of evidence of floods around the world. I believe in plasma events, which you can see through like swollen bricks, or the idea that like most mountains or rock formations were actually castles built by giants that were destroyed by the plasma event in the form of like heat rising up from basically the circuit board earth in a way. I can't remember what I was saying on the Libra Rising what plasma is, but then there were also floods and there were also mud, and the Libra Rising site was, and a lot of everyone else is saying like the last mud flood reset was in the 1800s, like early 1800s. Yeah.
You should go into so plasma is, she was explaining what plasma is. It's like a difference between, you know,
gas.
the elements, and she was saying that it's like kind of like gas and water, but it has like an electromagnetic
Yes,
quality.
it's about the electro. And as flat earthers that we are, we don't believe in gravity. We believe in electromagnetic.
We are. I've been
pressure.
a flat earther for like, I don't know, maybe 8 years. And like I was trying to explain to her, like crepuscular rays. Like,
oh yeah, I like that
they
story.
try to use that when you see the sun and you see the distance it is over the water and it's shining down through clouds, how it like comes down and hits the water. And it like, if you're a flat earther and you believe that the sun is only like 3,000 miles away, when you see that, it like makes logical sense. Oh, there's the sun and it's like coming through these clouds. But
wait, do flat earthers believe that it's 3,000 or not?
Yeah,
closer.
Flat earthers believe it's like 3,000 miles away. Globalists believe that it's like millions of miles away or some shit. Like, but the way that the sun comes down on the water, if it was millions of miles away, that would the way it shines on the water through the clouds, it would be literally impossible, like an impossibility. And so they call it crepuscular rays. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. But when you're a flat earther and you see the sun doing these things, it is just like amazing.
Well, you're talking the difference between like you and your friend driving on Highway 1 and seeing this like very incredible image.
Like,
it's
we're
just
on Highway 1.
It resonates like, different for us as flat earthers.
Above the ocean, and I rounded the corner and there's the sun, and I realized that both her and I were seeing the same thing, and this is reality in general, like reality. We're seeing the same thing, but I know, sitting there next to her, I know that we're not actually seeing the same thing. We're seeing two totally different things. But I don't know, when you're a flat earther and you see some of these things, like I've seen some crazy shit, like after the sunset, in the east, after the sunset, the sun was already set. In the east, the sky was still pink, and there was these blue rays coming from like the bottom. And so as a flat earther, I'm like, oh my god, like it's like shining like the other side of the globe. I think we're in like a snow globe. So the other side of the globe is like shining, but like somebody else that would see it might not be as amazed, because you know, if you think you're just like a tiny little speck in this spinning galaxy, like your life doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You're just a little tiny speck.
That's the narrative.
And that's a narrative that they're trying to make you think. That's what they're trying to hide from you. They're trying to hide your significance as a person. Like they're trying to hide that you do matter. You matter greatly. And you are not some little tiny speck in a fucking Milky Way spinning millions of miles an hour on a spinning globe around the fucking sun and doing all this shit. Like, that's not the case. We're here, we're stationary, we're here to learn a lesson in life, and every single thing that happens to you matters, and it matters greatly. And this is your lesson. And if you don't learn it now, you'll learn it in the next. You'll just...
And so we're both very visual people and sensitive. We talk about that, but I was saying how freeing it is to feel that we're in a flat realm and that everything I see is like basically accessible to me in that way, that it's not like, oh, I can't, like, you're not doing these mental gymnastics overriding your gut feeling about shit like the Mars landing on the moon and whatever. You're doing all these mental gymnastics and you're like, well, I'm never gonna know what it's like to go to the moon because I don't work at NASA and I'm not an astrophysicist and all this shit. And but now I have this opportunity to just kind of trust everything I see and experience. And Julie was talking about how the Bible says you learn as children, basically.
Learn as children.
Like with your eyes and your body and your experience, you know. So are you trying to get to the airport?
Yeah, and there's a cop
Sunport.
behind me, and I'm like, so like, I get pulled over fucking all the time. Right? Because I speed.
Hi, Cosmos.
This is
Cosmos.
Cosmos, Booby. He's my
Poo-poos.
COVID dog.
Also poo-poos.
Poo-poo and Booby. And boobies are nice. And you're my booby boy. Yeah, the boobies.
So we welcome you into the Flat Earth community.
Oh.
Trust what you see.
Trust what you see. And that makes, like, when you round a bend and you're looking at the ocean, it doesn't make your mind do mental gymnastics.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, like NASA, the government, the corporation, telling you like we're spinning in a ball and you just don't understand that. You don't understand it's corpuscular rays and it's so over your head and you're just a minuscule dot in this spinning freaking Milky Way galaxy, like spinning millions of miles an hour. No, you are significant and you can trust your eyeballs. You can trust them.
Isn't that crazy that there's an element of like sun rays that people probably have a negative association with now, in a way? Even though it looks godly, it's like pure like just majesty seeing the sun rays, and there must be a level that some people have that's like, oh, I better put my sunscreen on. Oh, sun rays are bad through like the ozone layer, blah blah blah, because of climate change, which I don't believe in either. I don't know about Julene, but I'm done with the negative associations with what I see. It's like I don't need to feel shame for every fucking thing I see. Like it's out of my control. Like, oh,
it's freeing to know that you can actually believe your eyeballs.
Yes.
And so when they say that they landed on Mars and it looks like Nevada, well, you probably see it in Nevada.
Yep.
Like, let's just go with that then.
No poo-poos.
What's he doing?
Okay, what else did we talk about for the brujas?
Oh, there was a lot. We covered. We're like all sorts of conspiracy.
The moon. So we sat in a hot spring in the moonlight last night.
Oh my God,
our favorite little
spring.
And we talked about how both of us have had really, like, I would say, questioning moments about the moon sets. And I've had experiences recently, both in Pagosa Springs where we were, but like a couple months ago.
Let's do a poll. How many people have seen weird phenomenons when it comes to the moon in the eastern sky, and you think it's in one spot and then all of a sudden it's in a different spot?
And I know, and so in my experience, I know that like, these objects, planets, moons, whatever you want to call them, are close to the earth, okay, they'll move faster. But I've seen legitimately the difference between one night to the next, where it's high in the sky one night and the next night it sets at 8:30, and the next night after that it's high in the sky again and doesn't set at 8:30 and shit like that. And Julene has experienced her own phenomena, I think, or just that you were researching and you couldn't
I'm a
find.
Psycho when it comes to shit like that. Like, I've been out like driving
moon chasing.
I've like done moon chasing shit. Like, I'm gonna freaking go watch this moon set, and then like it seemingly disappears, and then I went down a rabbit hole trying to find when moon sets. Like, you can ask Google. So if you have an Android, or I don't know, maybe it works with Siri, but like, okay Google, what time does the sun rise? It'll tell you. Okay Google, what time does the sunset? It'll tell you. If you ask, okay Google, what time does the moon rise? It'll take you like some almanac page. But if you ask like, okay Google, what time is the moon set? Like, I don't think there's any answer, at least last time I asked. And I like went down a rabbit hole trying to figure out when does the moon set. My conclusion was they don't know, but I don't know. Maybe that could be a bunk theory. But
from when I researched it a few weeks ago, when I saw it in Minnesota setting at like 11, and I know, like, some people have this like equation for when it sets during, like you were saying, what phase it is, but also what time of year it is. But my thing is, I've just seen it from one night to the next change, which freaks the hell out of me. And it would make sense if there's that much variability, Google can't be accountable for telling you like something false, because you would know that Google and NASA and the government, which is a corporation, are all in on it together. By the way, 1871, the United States was incorporated as a corporation under something with the United Kingdom, which is all controlled by the Vatican, by the way. Oh, Zionism, that's what we were getting into. We were talking about Zionism. We're both trying to figure it out.
Also, I was going to say, is that date that you just threw out, is that the date that they implemented maritime law?
Good point.
And I'm like really into like, we can spellcast, we can do this, words are super important, and they know that, and they made this new law called maritime law, and it actually superseded all other laws. In a court of law, you're actually under, most people don't know this, you are under a different law, and all it means is they like fucked with the language. one thing, but in this court, it actually means another thing.
Maritime? Or...
Yeah, but you don't know that. Like, as a normal person going into a court, you don't even know these terms because they've literally written into the law that, like, words mean something different than we know them to be.
Yeah.
And so it's like a form of spell casting, basically.
Have you ever...
Spelling.
I saw one of the most amazing things. I'm a Libra. I'm pretty into law and language as well. And this guy, this is so fascinating, like a hardcore libertarian, dresses like a French explorer, one of those, like, there's a lot of lore of that in my hometown where I'm from. Also Paul Bunyan, so it can easily believe like that the mountain over there was like an old castle built by giants.
Oh, and you should introduce yourself. This is Terease. We've been rambling, and she is from. You introduce
the Great White North in northern Minnesota right now.
Minnesota. And I am from a community in South Seattle, kind of towards the water, like west of the airport.
What's your name?
Oh, my name is Julene, and I always say, like, nobody hears it the first time. It's like Jolene with a U.
Yeah.
And then everybody wants to sing the song. But I grew up in a cult south of Seattle. It's actually the King County Police Academy now. It's about 44 acres. And
makes sense.
Yeah. It was on national news, but I didn't know that until I was 18. It broke up when I was 10, and I didn't know that until I was 18 because we didn't have TVs. And I was like, oh shit, it was on national news. It wasn't even local. It was like national news, I guess. I don't know, because it was so crazy.
Well, we charged our crystals, our crystalline bodies, which, as Dr. Christian Northrup says, our fascia is crystalline. We charged up in the moonlight last night. So that's one thing that I think brought us together.
I'm sober.
She's
sober, but I'm sober now.
Congratulations.
And I'm trying.
Basically her sponsor, right? I'm
trying to let go of, oh my God, amazing sex, but not going anywhere. Give me your advice, Brujas. Like, amazing, like mind-blowing, amazing fucking sex. Jesus Christ. But the relationship's not going anywhere, and I'm having a really hard time letting it go because I know, she's telling me I'm making shit up about it. I'm making shit up, like, well, I don't need somebody to, like, always be there for me because, like, I'm going through some shit myself right now, and I want to just not rely on anybody right now, so it's been okay for a while. I've been with him for probably, I've been going up and seeing him for like a year and 9 months now, and just like, I'm addicted because it's so fucking good.
Well, okay, by the way, you're not heading home, you're heading to there somewhere, right?
Yeah, we're on our way to Albuquerque, taking
to the Sunport
airport.
So, related to sex and relationships, and like, I think that was one thing I think you didn't start off in the way that you would have. Now, with your wisdom that you're advocating for, is that we don't have sex right away. Is that, you know, I mean, you can call it an agenda with a kind of sexual revolution. I don't want to say the acronym, but we know what I'm talking about. I don't want to offend anybody, but the whole sexual revolution, pansexual, even transhuman or transgender, everything. Maybe is it an exploitation, and is it? I've seen a lot of that from other truthers where they're like, sex is actually not Christian Bible style, but really, really sacred, really important, and even talking a lot about that.
It's really important.
I don't know if that's a conspiracy, you could call it that, I don't know.
We rubbed our heart chakras together too much. Oh man, dude, that'll fuck you up.
Well, and if you're doing that, like, if you do that with people, you're just showing them that it doesn't matter. That's what you were saying, Julie. If you have sex with somebody right away, you're just showing them that the sex doesn't matter that much to you. It's interesting because I've given it up easily.
Yeah, there's two different things that can happen. You can either, you know, like that song, fooled around and fell in love. Well, yeah, that happens. That's a thing. And then you start making excuses for a person that you're not supposed to really be with.
Mm-hmm.
Because you do, like, our heart chakras are involved. But, so there's that can happen if you fool around. Or it could be like like meaningless. You can also fuck a relationship up in other ways too. See, we're back to sex.
Sex as a psyop. That's why I'm trying to bring it back to CLA conspiracy lovers. But I mean, it's sexual energy is extremely important, and Christians didn't have it wrong on that.
Well, where do we post this, on the sex one or
CLA? Everest wanted us to do a podcast. I think she wanted us to like host CLA,
I don't know.
This is like a trial.
Here's our trial.
I mean, we've spent hours talking about this anyway. I thought I would hit record before I get on a plane. Zionism, I mean, can you join me? Anyone want to tell us about what you know about Zionism? Like, I'm freaked out because I fucked a Zionist guy on the first date, so double bad psyops. Just lots of things wrong about this dude, but I looked him up, and his dad was president of a Zionist organization and used to own a trucking company, which is kind of related to sex trafficking, which we were kind of talking about. Like, is that real? How QAnon is it? Like, to what extent is it real?
This is how...
But Zionism, what the hell is that?
Yeah, this is how the whole conversation started. I was like, and what the fuck is up with the Jews?
Yeah.
Like, something was a little weird, and I just heard about this Zionism thing. Like, let's talk about this. And I heard that there's like 2 different types of Jews, and some of them are like Zionists, and they're like bad, and they're like trying to hide shit, and then the other ones that are like against them. And I'm like, why are Jews so freaking significant in our world, in our history, and what is the freaking deal with the Jews? Like,
as this relates, so you had mentioned this, like, you had heard this, and I heard this in a different way related to the Tartarian mud flood global reset, but that Hitler wasn't necessarily trying to kill the Jews, but why I hear in my community is like probably people who remembered, people from the whole old world, people like ancestors of the Tartaria or whatever, people who remember the old world, and or, you know, what I've thought about is they're really powerful. They recognize, you know, maybe their community or their traditions and religion are strong enough where they remember their power. And so it wasn't maybe necessarily about Jews, but about the power, the takeover. One thing I want to add related to the Holocaust is that the world wars are just meant to destroy the artifacts or the evidence of their previous civilizations that were extremely advanced. So that's how people in my community kind of relate to it now. Like, unnecessary wars. We know that about our current wars that we're in, weapons of mass destruction, but all wars were basically just destroying the old architecture. And so I don't know if you have anything more to comment about how Zionism and Jews kind of fit into
I mean,
what...
I didn't have any even thoughts about that, like, other than that I know that there was some sort of a huge flood. It's in every single culture's history. I've seen shells on the top of a mountain. I mean, people say tectonic plates. I would think more of a flood. It just, I believe things that I see. Mm-hmm. So a lot of these things, like I was telling her about, like sex trafficking. Yeah, we know it exists. Yeah, it's a fucking huge problem. But do we know that kids were sold on Wayfair in a cabinet? Like, we don't actually know that. There's so many attention-seeking people these days that would literally go and Photoshop like a different price just to kind of like get people riled up and get more views.
Yeah.
So I don't know that. I can't. There's a lot of things in life that we can't verify, and that's why I was when she brought up like Earth and old civilizations being like in mountains. Like, I don't know about that. Like, I'm not saying that doesn't exist or whatever. I just haven't thought about it. But a lot of things in our life, you know, try to take our focus and our attention, and there's so much. We're just inundated with tons and tons of shit that I think, you know, it's all about being in the now moment. And like, I've flipped out about climate change, and I'm really into like anti-bullying. Like, why are people on social media like making fun of these people in Texas that are saying that the snow is different? And that really bothered me. And then I realized, like, it doesn't actually matter. That doesn't affect my life. I don't need to get riled up about it. Like, who fucking cares? Like, climate tampering is real.
Yeah, weather control is real.
Oh, and I was also saying, if you throw something out to the universe, if I'm supposed to know more about Zionists,
Yeah.
like it just came to my awareness. I didn't even know that was a thing. That they were like, there's two sets of Jews and some are against each other. I had no idea about that until recently.
Yeah.
But if I am supposed to know more about that, like I don't think I'm supposed to waste my time going down a rabbit hole on that one. But if I am supposed to know more about that, I am very trusting that the universe will just bring that to me. And if you're passionate about something, you want to go down a rabbit hole, like I'm already a flat earther, but I just went down a flat earth rabbit hole the other night just because I don't know, it's kind of cool. Like I like that stuff. If you like it and that's your form of entertainment, that's fine. Like if you don't play video games, you don't watch TV, and you feel like going down a rabbit hole, then go. But if you feel like it's wasting your time and it's so complicated and you're not going to get to the bottom of it.
Oh shit, I want to film this for a second and love it. Traditions, festival market. Oh, there was okay, we can talk about this for a second. UFO, there was a UFO painting of it. Okay, what were you finishing saying?
I'm just saying, like,
follow
the basic principle is like, we are here now. We could, I love to travel. Like, I could be super upset and worried that I'm gonna have to have a vaccine passport in order to travel. And I've actually never been to Europe. I've been to a lot of places south of here, but never to Europe. And I would be like, oh my God, my life dream to ever go anywhere else is gonna be crushed. But I don't need to worry about that because it's literally not affecting me right now. I'm taking my friend to the airport. She doesn't need a vaccine passport. Like, we don't need to worry about this. We don't need to worry about climate change because it's not, is it affecting you right fucking now?
Sorry.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the climate's changing. The climate's always changing. So first I blame the climate change.
Yeah, it feels good to try to do something like fucking take a shorter shower, but I mean the shame level, you don't, I mean, sorry to offend anybody who still believes in it, but you're like, find another way to contribute to the world or something.
Well, obviously climate is changing.
Yeah.
It's the argument is it because of the fossil fuels that are in, the carbon that's in the atmosphere that's making the climate change?
Oh, it's definitely the methane from the cow shit. Oh.
I mean, I don't know, but if you can't control it, like, if you can't control it and you can't verify it, why the fuck go down a rabbit hole and get yourself all in a tizzy? That's not Zen. Zen is living in the moment. So, I mean, if something's brought to you and you want to, like, research it for a minute, that's cool, but
there's so much surrender, and I would say, like, the fun thing about being a truther, first of all, is, like, surrendering responsibility to every fucking thing, like you're saying, and trusting our eyes. Trusting our eyes or our sense of, even our gut sense, I've been validated a lot lately in the last year from everything I've learned. All my intuitions I had, like, always hated history, always was bad at history, always had too many questions about history. So it's fun to follow. It's totally my entertainment now. And, I wanted to go on a little, like, skit idea about, like, the fun thing about being a flat earther is, I guess one other thing was, like, I feel I've been bullied in the past, and maybe a lot of us sensitive people, maybe Julene, and I feel like it's being welcomed in a community, and I feel like it's on the cutting edge or the frontier is what I was saying, where, like, the status quo people who tend to be the bullies are the ones left behind. I feel really good, doing anything alternative, basically, as this is. But to me, it just feels so validating. You look out on the horizon and you know that this is what we're working with, and it's not more mystical than that. In a way that helps me. And like you're saying about how, like, you don't need to, like, you can't change it right now, you don't need to worry about it. I feel like, how do you know something is meant to be? It's happening. Like, I think Everest has said that, like, all is meant to be, even, like, the really horrible, destructive things. It's like, must be the plan. And sometimes I think it's the plan from, like, the global elite controllers, and it's scary, but it's also like, might as well live like you can die at any time, which is kind of what I feel like. There could be a plasma event at any time, and the filament dome will fall in, and part of this realm will be much to even be productive in life. Like you were saying, it takes up so much space to always be looking at this or focusing on some of this.
Yeah.
Like, oh, the snow for you. Like it really, like the fake snow thing was like taking over your life a little bit.
Snow in Colorado, and I was like, what the fuck? And then I saw all these people on social media just making fun of these people in Texas going, oh, what the fuck is with the snow? And they're like literally saying, I don't know, it was just stupid. They were saying like climate change is, like man-made climate change is even real, and you can just look it up. They're not even hiding it. So I'm like, wow, that's fucked up. But like, you know, in another breath, like it doesn't matter. None of it matters.
There must be some people that are so angry at other people for the snow in Texas. Like it's like the equivalent of, it's because you didn't wear a goddamn mask. It's because you drove to work that day or something, you know? And there must be people who are still on that trip. How fun is that? How fun is that? But like what?
Let's wrap it up with the zen, the live in the moment. Yeah? Or it's gonna go too long?
I was saying like I access all of that through my mind. Like I've done Zen and, you know, we've been religious and things, but like to mentally process and validate and experience is kind of like that child of God kind of aspect of like I've learned through the innocence, I guess, and that's a relief. And how zen am I about it? I just that surrender aspect is huge, and like I'm basically recalling all the divine power that I have. I literally feel like I live on like a circuit grid realm, but that there is power I can have access to. You kind of play the game, you kind of plug into the circuit board at any time. So like I think that's how I've achieved some sort of zen.
We're all connected.
So clear to me. I mean, I'm really passionate about the theory of Indra's net, where we see everything is reflected in each other, like in an infinite way. Like everything and moment is like quantum field too. Like it's like a prism, every person and thing.
And I think we should say what we'll leave you guys with is you are not a speck that's insignificant.
Totally.
Hurling millions of miles through space. Your problems that you're having are significant. They do matter. And you're having those problems as lessons in life. That is literally why you came here. You came here to learn the lesson. And if I really open up to people and tell somebody that's ready to hear this, they'll always ask, so what's my lesson? Nobody can answer that for you. But you are here to learn a lesson that literally nobody can tell you what that lesson is.
What is your lesson?
Oh, you don't even know yourself. That
okay.
is you have to like, I think your path in life is to like literally figure out what your lesson is. And I don't know. I'm working on it. And the only way to get there is to walk on that razor's edge of, you know, they talk about the straight and narrow path in the Bible, but that's for sure. Like that's but it's more. It's a razor's edge. Like, and when you get right up on
That's
there.
a Georgia O'Keeffe quote. Huh?
And a Georgia O'Keeffe quote, yeah. And
which you just drove through Abiquiu.
yeah, and I live in Los Alamos, which is near where she lived at the end of her life, and I said that I feel like I'm walking on a razor's edge, and I didn't even know that was a Georgia O'Keeffe quote, and then I went to the museum like a couple days or something after I said that, and I saw that there, and I was like blown. It was like a holy experience, but the path that you're on, like you have to, it's like a razor's edge, but it's like living in the moment. It's going to do what your spirit needs to do. It's setting down the ego, and when you follow that, it does feel like you're on a razor's edge, and it feels good. And shit falls together, and coincidences happen.
Yeah.
And they're amazing.
The flow.
Yeah. So
My like first introduction into an expanded spirituality and like mythology was Joseph Campbell and his interview with Bill Moyers, and Bill Moyers asked him, and you know, you started to learn how like all cultures are connected And beyond, like, when you're a flat earther, you learn, like, oh, every continent was connected in the form of Tartaria, for instance, you know, and all the architecture is the same. But all cultures were connected in the way that the stories of the floods and the symbolism and alien references and all these things were, like, the same. And Bill Moyers, at the end of the interview, asks, like, what is the next mythology? Like, how can mythology help us still? And he was stumped. He was stumped. He's like, doesn't know. And he's like, everything's moving so fast now. I don't think there'll be another mythology, or I don't know. And what I'm starting to feel like, I'm obsessed with fractals. And it's so clear to me that we're living, a lot of people think like climate change is the end, and our society's gonna end or something. And I just don't see it that way. Even with the mud flood reset, I don't see that there's like an end. But I see the fractals as like, it just keeps becoming more and more and more complex, like in nature, or if you watch a video of fractals or like a digital kind of reconstruction of a fractal. I feel in that way, we're each unfolding a mythology that benefits everybody in the form of the fractals. Like every human is so complex. It's like, I think you said this, like we're all like a god or like a mythical being, basically, that's significantly contributing.
We're in the network, and if the network might look like a fractal, if anything is God, then math is God, because there's nothing that supersedes the beauty and truth about mathematical equations and how complex and how you can get to the same answer using different pathways. That's like a fractal in and of itself. Get all these pathways and get to the same point. Anyhow, we should probably wrap it up or it's going to get too long.
Yeah, my phone's burning up.
Yeah.
Okay, first edition. Give this a launch. This was Julene and Terease for Conspiracy Lovers Anonymous. Bye.
To keep the Earth's population down.
I don't know if it's about keeping population down as much as it is keeping more people under control.
Maybe.
The less people there are,
Again,
the more ratio doesn't wake up.
It boils down to what I was saying again. In some regard, it doesn't actually matter. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what I wanted to end it on. That's what I wanted to end our little podcast on. Is that in some regard, all of what we've been talking about,
Yeah.
and all of it actually doesn't matter. You know, just because. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
I was trying to film the giant structures that were castles.
I don't know about
The
that.
castle-built structures that were turned to mountains.
I mean, maybe, but there would be no way to prove it. Is all I'm saying.
Well, if you're in Europe, though, I mean, I've seen video and photo of
all I can
the-
prove is
the ones that have actual like castles like built into it in
okay,
quotation
but
marks.
what I'm saying is, you know.
Yeah, well, we can't because the technology isn't there, because the technology was free energy and frequency, and free energy isn't something that I don't think anyone in a large scale way is even allowed to do anymore. If they try to pass a patent for it, they die, like Tesla, even if he was even real. But we can't do that, and it was possibly giant 3D or like 3D printers. Some of the intricacies of like Notre Dame, for instance, and other buildings, like those people were fully like aliens who are not even connected to our civilization in any way because they're so advanced, or their technology, like the free energy or the 3D printing, was just on another level that got
I think
squashed.
we lost because like they could build the pyramids, and then see, I could talk about this for a while. The pyramids, they say the running school of thought with that is that they were built by slaves.
I know. That's just to normalize slavery.
Are we on again?
Yeah.
Part 2. No, seriously. I haven't even taken a shower for 3 days.
You do have a gold necklace though. It's badass. And we smell like sulfur because we don't shower after our hot springs. I still didn't shower.
I'm so about
I
not
love smelling like it. Like,
I love smelling it.
it smells like an egg fart. Thank you very much. But so yeah, we lost it.
I have my cum drop necklace. Oh. Okay. My cum drop necklace.
So Egypt.
Oh yeah. This
Lost.
running school of thought is that it was built by slaves. That's what most people believe. But the other running school of thought is that, you know, it was such advanced technology that it was actually a civilization that was completely in on it. And they were basically coming together as a group of people like, oh, we're going to build these magnificent structures. And they had something in mind. And maybe we don't know what it is. But they had some form of use in mind. And then what happened is somebody, the controllers said, whoa, look what you built. I'm going to use that. And then they're going to be like, I'm going to use it for my tomb or whatever the fuck they're doing. But that it actually wasn't built to be that originally. And it was built from a society that had mastered something that we are unaware of. And they came together and we're going to build this, and this is going to benefit us in this way or whatever. Because it's all lined up constellationally.
There's lots of evidence that the stonework there was cut with like fucking laser precision. With a laser. Like that's kind of like the main theory that some folks have in Egypt. And these aren't even flat earther people. You know? These are people saying, oh, the sun's energy was used to something and magnify into the pyramid, and then that was used to cut the stone or something. You know, it's complex. It's very complex. I did hear that there was like a health treatment center in some of the buildings in Egypt that treated people with sound frequency. Did you ever hear that one?
I don't know, but I just know sound frequency is a fucking real thing. It can be used to treat cancer and kill cancer cells without harming a single other piece of anything on your body, because everything has its own frequency, and if they figure out what the frequency of your cancer is, they can kill it just without using that frequency.
It's like a rifle machine. I have a rifle machine.
I've actually been, I had some cervical disc issues in my neck, and I went to a guy that used sound frequency in his chiropractic, and it's rare, which I don't know why it's rare, because it totally worked. You don't need to crack the neck manually. It was just this thing that they can put, and it clicks sound through it. Just barely even. I mean, they just have to put it on your neck. They don't actually push into it, and then the sound makes the disc move. If anybody has disc problems in their back, their disc going out, should I just go into that?
Oh my god.
Should I just go into that?
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe somebody needs healing in their lower back, their discs. You can move your discs. I was taught this practice, but and you can heal other things in your body as well. You talk to it, and what I find, it's like a prayer. You're praying to yourself, and what I find the most beneficial with this practice is if you talk to it like a 2-year-old, like lining up for preschool. And so if one of my discs go out in my back, I just touch it, and I'm like, whoa, that's way off. And I just touch it, and I'm like, hi, hey, you're over here, and that's not where you're supposed to be. Just, get in line, because what's happening is your body is, when it's having a dis-ease, it's having a trauma response. And when your body is having a trauma response, there's a disconnect between your brain and your body. And so, like, when your disc goes out, there's reasons why. It's usually like some muscle is pulling on it, but your muscle is doing what it thinks it's supposed to be doing. It thinks it's being a good little boy or girl. Like, I like to think of them as preschoolers, and they're all like lined up in one it takes a little longer on if I get like a whacked out shoulder muscle, but I'll do the same thing, and you can do it a couple times a day, and you don't even really have to like press too much on the muscle, but you talk to it like it's a kid, like it's having a little fucking tantrum. It like tensed up because it's like, oh my god, whatever the fuck it was, and it's throwing a fit, and you have to be like reassuring, calm down, everything's gonna be okay, you don't need to be all up right here, just go down, go flat, everything's fine, you don't need to feel like you're needing to pull on anything else, you don't need to pull, you are fine, everything is fine, everything's working as it's supposed to work, you can calm down now. Just, yeah.
That's sound frequency healing for you, right? That's kind of the message.
Yeah, it's like a prayer. It's like, yeah, but
It's
also
vibration.
different vibrational sound.
Even in your mind, or are you speaking out loud? What do you think's the difference? Are you speaking out loud or mental? So many people who know this.
I don't even know if it's like a prayer. I don't even know if I say it out loud
Yeah.
in my head. I don't know. But I say it either way. The same thing with admitting, like some people don't, like, oh, I have this thing and I don't want to admit it. It's an icky thing. It's like a sin. I don't want this to be a part of myself. If you admit it, what I'm finding now as the older I get, if I admit some bad thing about myself that I don't like, that I'm trying to change, and I like admit it out loud to maybe to somebody else, like it talks about having a witness in the Bible, like maybe you need a witness. You admit it, you type it, anything, you admit it to somebody. I've seen this more times than not. As soon as I admit it, it's like it's gone.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Yeah, the witness is important.
it's gone. Oh, I don't even have that problem anymore. Wow. And then you kind of feel like an ass because you like totally admitted the shit thing about yourself. And then after you admit it, it like doesn't exist. And then, then you're worried, if you were like on a lower level, you'd start worrying about what that other person thought. But just find, like this group, the Slack group is great because you can admit whatever the fuck you want. As soon as you admit it, it doesn't have any hold on you. It doesn't have to have any hold. You freed it. You admitted it. It's gone.
Yeah.
It's just gone. It disappears.
Yeah. I was gonna say this in our last video. What I feel passionate about is basically decentralizing everything. So if we have personal responsibility in our prayer, but also our groups, not in a codependency way, but not relying on the medical constructs anymore, thinking that you need to go through this pattern or path to heal. The decentralization of everything, like the education, and that we have our own, and we do our research, and we trust what we see. That's exciting to me. That's what I think is a bit zen, is like decentralized, like systems.
It actually,
Systems that evolve organically are nice, but they phase out. That's fine. And all the like constructs and systems that we live in society, man, are unnecessary, and we're evolving away from them. And I think we've been devolving for a long time from like Egyptian society, civilizations who used vibration. But I think some of us are bringing it back. We have the awareness. Our bodies can't live without this kind of technology. And you're kind of living proof of that when you're explaining how much healing you had just by talking to yourself,
Yeah, it's
Is this the
amazing.
airport? Sunport?
The fucked up thing is I've told a couple other people about this, and like knowing the type of person I was talking to, knowing that they weren't going to do it, I was like, look, here's how you can heal this, like try this. Well, the person did. He was like, I'm like, just pray to this thing on your arm, like 3 times a day, like for a couple days, and it'll be gone. Which I did I had a big thing, and I did that to it. But anyhow, I said this, checked in with a person a couple days later, and I was like, so how'd it go? And they were like, oh, well, I've been doing it. It didn't work. I've been doing it. But I also went to the doctor and got a prescription. And I'm like, so how did you think it was going to work if you weren't actually trusting in the process? You were trusting in the doctor. And I also said it to my dad, but he's like a fundamental Christian. I don't think he did it.
I guess to some people that's their prayer, huh? It's kind of fucked up. But some people that's their
Medical community is their
prayer.
Yeah.
Okay, well, are we going to wrap it up again, Zen style, just because I got to get on a
We
plane?
are wrapping it up. I was going to say something about it's like, again, it's taking the power away. If you know that these things exist, acupuncturist, if you know that you can cure cancer with sound frequency, if you know that you can heal your body by just talking to it, if you know these things, if you know that we're not spinning out of control, things are in your control. That's what they don't want you to know. And so if there are things that are brought to you like Zionism or chemtrails are real,
Child trafficking,
and you can't get to the bottom of it, like, relax, it actually is not affecting you.
Yeah.
But you may just need bringing awareness to something. Just simple awareness is sometimes all that it takes. And you don't need to, like, dwell on it, you know? Go down a rabbit hole and spiral like I did about the weather thing for a minute. I was like, what the fuck is happening? So, I'm so greasy.
Okay, with that,
Oh
bye-bye.
Bye!